PUA is, quite frankly, a stupid, outdated term that should probably never have been coined in the first place, and certainly shouldn't be used by any right-thinking person in 2022. In fact, for the most part, it probably isn't used by any right-thinking person in 2022. It tends to get used predominantly by two types of people. One is somebody who has read a little bit about dating advice, or they have read The Game by Neil Strauss or something like that, and they think that this is still a term that is au courant, as I think the French say, which is fine because that's just a slightly naive position, and that's one thing. But then there's another group of people who use the term PUA, which by the way stands for pickup artist, and they will use it in a denigrating fashion to try to invalidate what a dating coach or somebody like that is trying to do, or a content creator who is putting out content about relationships and dating. They will seek to denigrate the work of that person by referring to them as a PUA. The reason they do that, because pickup artistry from the early 2000s rightly has a bad name, because it got all wound up with all sorts of ridiculous tropes like wearing fuzzy velvet fake top hats and flashing belts and platform boots and all this kind of thing. And I guess there's a subsector of that denigrating group, which is people who oppose those who want to help guys dating full stop. So let's say people with a more feminist type perspective, who for some reason, which I've never really quite worked out, seem to think that giving guys a hand with being a little bit more confident and a little bit more socially adept is in some way misogynistic, which obviously is a fallacy, is a logical fallacy. It makes no sense at all. But you know, there is unfortunately a subsector of people who have that kind of view as well, and they will also use this term PUA, this acronym PUA, again in an effort to denigrate the work of the dating coach or the content creator. So if we're not using this term, then what should we be saying instead? And why was it a bad term in the first place? Well, I believe it was a silly term in the first place because it was disingenuous. The acronym stands for pickup artist. Okay, so that is somebody who is an artist in the realm of pickup, and a lot of guys used it in a way that wasn't entirely honest, because they used it as a kind of fig leaf to try to bestow some sort of class on what they were doing. But what they were actually doing was just trying to sleep with as many women as they possibly could, which is in itself is not inherently very classy. It's actually pretty classless behavior, because if you are an archetypal high-value man on his purpose, then are you really going to be doing that? Probably not. You know, it's been said before that actually some of the most high-value men on the planet got married pretty young. You know, got married pretty young, settled down with somebody who they regarded as the one, were in a marriage, and then that part of their life was boxed off. That part of their life was, in inverted commas, solved, if you like, and so they were then able to spend more time concentrating on arguably more important things like career, business, finance, etc. Now, I'm not for one moment recommending that you hang up your condoms and just immediately go and get married, because that is not a solution either. However, the point remains that, is it really high-value behaviour to be going around and just trying to sleep with as many people as possible? Obviously not, no. And that's really, let's be honest, that's really what these early guys were seeking to do. So it wasn't really artistry at all. That term was disingenuous. Now you might say, okay, yeah, but what about the verbal dexterity of some of the founding fathers in that space, if you like? And yes, of course, some people, a few people, not many, but some people did possess a very high degree of verbal fluency. They were able to articulate themselves in an impressive manner. They had the gift of the gab, they had the silver tongue, and they were able to use those skills in order to attract women into their lives, and great, that's bully for them, fantastic for them. But the truth of the matter is that most people, and I know because I've met a lot of them, most of these guys actually didn't really possess that kind of poetic verbal dexterity that the term pickup artist would imply, and actually really what was going on was pretty crude, let's say, for the most part. Not to say they were doing anything wrong, it's just that, they were trying to label themselves as something that they weren't. They were trying to pretend to be, or imply that they were sort of artists. And in a way, you could say, well, there was a lack of ownership there. Because if actually what you really want to do is just be a bit of a cat and sleep around, which is really what most of these dudes wanted to do, then why not just own that? Why do you have to sort of sugarcoat it with this term that in some way seeks to make it sound better than it is, to sort of ameliorate what you're doing? I also, as it happens, and for the record, object to the term pickup as well. I find the term pickup to be classless. I think it sort of suggests that a woman has no agency because the protagonist just goes and picks her up. I mean, what does that even mean? Physically pick her up? I mean, it doesn't even really make any sense, right? But in as much as it does make sense, I think it's slightly, it kind of belittles the agency of the woman in the interaction, because remember, women have, full agency, as do men, and a guy can walk up to her and begin a conversation. A guy can go and start an interaction, but it's entirely within her purview to either accept or reject his advances based on how she feels emotionally, right? There's no sort of, and again, this is a big criticism that gets labelled at people who give dating advice, is that it is in some way manipulative, and that it is sort of trying to get somebody to do trying to get the other party to do something that they wouldn't otherwise do. And that's a fallacy as well, because the truth of the matter is, all adults have agency, right? You can't make somebody do something that they want to do, or at least not within legal means. I mean, if you held a gun to their head, then perhaps, but putting that out of the equation, putting those extreme measures out of the equation, you can't make somebody do what they don't want to do, right? All you can do is influence. All you can do is influence the way that they perceive you, and you can do that by presenting yourself in the best possible light that you can. Game, in inverted commas, which is the umbrella term really for all of this stuff we're talking about, game was only ever an umbrella term denoting the manner in which one communicates one's value in a social and romantic setting. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. How you communicate value. Now, in the old days, and when I say old days, I'm talking about 2004, 2005, maybe earlier, a lot of store was set on effectively faking value, or at least suggesting value was there when perhaps it maybe wasn't quite there to the same degree. Today, fast forward to 2022, going into 2023, what we're all about really is actually having the value, is actually really having the value. But you still need to communicate that value, okay? You still need to show or tell in some way, but without telling, the woman that you are interested in that you have value. You need to display it, you need to embody it, you need to, it needs to emanate from you, really. You can see I'm walking down Jermyn Street again here, some fancy shops. Went to the tailor's today actually to get measured up for a new suit, which was very nice. Image is important, right? And we're going to be doing more content on that going forward. But image, the way that you look, fashion, your grooming, things like the scent that you wear, all of this kind of stuff, it does make a difference, right? But all of those things, really, what are they when it comes down to it? They are marketing tools, okay? I was talking to Tusk about this the other day. We were getting measured up for suits, and I was saying, well, you know, get measured up for a suit. What is it really? It's a marketing tool. It is something that shows you in your best light. That's the point of it. It's like buying an expensive pair of shoes. It's like a woman buying a bodyform dress or a push-up bra or wearing makeup, right? The purpose of that is to help to market her in the dating or the marriage marketplace. Same thing for guys, right? You know, you buy a nice well-cut suit, you buy a nice well-cut shirt, you try to make your voice slower and a little bit lower. You work very hard so that you have a cool and interesting lifestyle. All of these things are elements of value. Well, having a cool lifestyle actually is value, okay? But you might communicate that through the stories you tell. You might communicate that through the way that you are able to dominate a social situation because you've had so many social interactions in your life that now you're very adept in those situations, okay? So, and that's really what we talk about when we talk about game, all right? And it's not like a thing in itself, it's a mode of amplification, really. It's a way of funneling everything so that it shows you in the best possible light in the social dating type situations that you go into. That might be a bar, that might be a nightclub, that might be in the coffee shop, it might be in the airport lounge or whatever, okay? So, but anyway, what I'm really coming around to say here is that inherent or embedded within the DNA of this term PUA, this term pickup artist, is a sense of manipulation, a sense that you're an artist, right? What does an artist do? An artist fabricates things. And therefore embedded within the DNA of that term is a sense that you are somehow faking it, you're somehow making it up. And of course within the kernel of that is a suggestion of manipulation. And I reject that because, as I said, my contention is that there's no such thing as manipulation, or at least there's certainly such a thing as influencing people, but you can't make somebody do what they don't want to do, okay? So all you can really do in the end is put your best foot forward. And as Tusk is always fond of quoting, Mark Manson puts it best in his book Models when he says that the only real dating advice is self-improvement. The only real dating advice is self-improvement, okay? All you can really do is actually acquire the value that the opposite sex finds attractive. That's in the end, that's all you can really do. Now, okay, if you are an 18-year-old college student and you don't have a lot of value because, you know, you haven't got any money and maybe you're not in shape, maybe you're not in great shape and, you know, you're living at home and all that kind of stuff, what are you meant to do? Are you meant to put your dating life on hold for 10 years? Well, to be honest, maybe yes you are. But you know, there's something to be said for faking it till you make it. There are certainly ways that you can work with what you've got. I mean, we've all been dealt cards in life, right? And it's the job for all of us, really, to play those cards to the best of our ability. So that's what you would have to do. But in the end, you have to ensure that you are actually creating the value that you are then going to communicate. But, and this is the next bit, it's an oversimplification to say, okay, well, just chase excellence and then the women will come and it'll all be happy ever after, because we've just spent 6 weeks or so traveling around major cities in Poland, working with a whole bunch of different guys, all of them great guys, but, you know, some of them very, very successful, some of them making millions of dollars, some of them with huge net worth, but they've still come to train in Poland with myself and Tusk. Well, why have they done that? You know, if it was as simple as just have value and everything else was slot into place, then why would these guys be wasting their time coming out and doing training with us, okay? Because you also need to communicate that value, okay? And that is where the social skills come in, all right? That's where the applied understanding of intergender dynamics becomes important, all right? But to say that that's all you need, that all you need is the game, for want of a better term, is also disingenuous, all right? Anyway, I hope this makes some kind of sense. Basically what I'm saying, term PUA, it's nonsense, strike it from your lexicon, don't use it. You can't use it on this channel anyway. If anybody else uses it, then look at their motivations, and you'll probably find that they're a hater of some kind, or they just, they're just using outdated and old-fashioned terminology. If you would like more from me, you can get on a call with me, discuss your own personal dating situation, and we can figure out how we can improve that for you. There is a link below this video, so click on that and book a free call. Aside from that, do hit subscribe to the channel, give me a like, give me a comment below, tell me what you think about this stuff, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye.